I was in a relationship and I noticed the same exact thing. This is a pattern. Every person I'm dating feels like I don't care about them, feels like I don't give them enough reassurance. I'm cold. It was always like, you're so cold and distant. You get shut down. I'm like, I don't feel like I'm doing that, but maybe there's something I'm not seeing. And seriously, like if you're in a relationship and every single relationship you're in, the person tells you the same thing, there's got to be some truth to that. Yes. Like you can't just keep like dying on this hill of like, they're wrong.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Made It Out. Thank you for being here with us another week. I'm so excited for today's conversation. I'm here with queer artist, musician, Lauren Sanderson, and we're talking about how she's overcome her avoidant attachment style and how I've overcome an anxious attachment style.
All right, let's dive in. Attachment styles in 3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Tell me about you. I want to know, where did you grow up and kind of what was your family structure like?
So I grew up in Indiana. I was born. I have my mom and my dad. My dad's a Cancer. My mom's a Scorpio. That's already insane. 2 years after I came out of the womb, my parents got a divorce. And I remember nothing, of course. But my childhood was like, it was complex. I would say growing up in the Midwest, it's very hard to have enough space to explore yourself, especially when you just don't really look around and see much of who you are anywhere. And so I feel like having my divorced parents was a blessing and a curse, because I got to see two completely different lifestyles, but I also never really had like one stable place that I just was at all times where I could like settle in and then explore. I was kind of just back and forth. So I never really had much of like a ground foundation. I was kind of just one man wolf pack, and I didn't have any siblings. So
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What did the two different lives look like?
So my dad's was very structured, very like responsibility and life lessons. And I got so much of who I am from just like my dad's structural side and just like chores and allowance and all of that. And at my mom, she was much more kind of free flow. There were not really like structured rules or like, if I did this, I did this, or like she wasn't like super much like looking at my GPA and stuff like that all the time. It was kind of like she was going through a lot too. My mom really has not had it very easy. And so she was going through a lot when I was a kid. And I think it's very hard when you're a parent, I would assume, to like care for this, blossoming child as you're like going through a bunch of stuff, you know? So
were they young parents?
My mom was 27 and my dad was 29.
Okay.
So I can't imagine.
Neither can I.
I can't fathom. But I look back and I'm like, I don't have any anger anymore. I think I did for a while, but I think the main difference was just like super, super structured and like wake up at this time, go to bed at this time. And my mom was kind of like go with her feelings, and she has had a lot of feelings in her life because of everything she's gone through. So I think like when I look at them separately, it's like that. But when I look at like the overarching picture, I just see like two people really trying to figure it out in like a major way on their own, both of them. And then I was kind of like just trying to adapt to whatever would make their lives easiest. And that's, I think, a huge part of like attachment styles and all that. As soon as I learned about attachment styles, I was like, okay, we got to dig in there a lot, because I have a lot of like, my dad, I think, was super maybe like emotionally towards me. He was very there, but I would say to the world, maybe not so much, like very closed off and scared of vulnerability and judgments. And my mom was more so like just kind of scared of the world in a sense. And so I was just trying to like figure it out.
I also think it's interesting. Neither Lauren and I are therapists, but just we're speaking anecdotally and you know.
This is life experience talk. This is what to do.
Yes. But from what I understand, attachment theory is like you start to form it in the womb and in those like really early years. So it's also interesting that your parents got a divorce so early, because even though you say you don't remember a lot of it, you were there to witness it, and like the things that were going on.
Yeah,
affected
that's
you.
true. Yeah, and I do think there are many different types of divorces. And my parents specifically, they just, by the time they got a divorce, I think they already had so much resentment towards each other. I think my dad was like, you know, had one outlook of what a relationship should be and what a partnership should be. And my mom had something completely different. And so it wasn't, in my eyes, and like, what I look back and like the rest of my childhood see in myself is that it never really was, hey, mommy and I didn't work out, or daddy and I didn't work out, and it's okay. Like we're just different people. It was like, well, she this and he this. And so I was always kind of like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was at my dad's house on Mondays and Tuesdays. My mom's on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And every weekend we'd switch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was literally like such black and white, different sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did that affect your relationships?
Like with like in my adulthood or with them?
I guess both. Maybe start with them.
I think, like I said, like both of my parents were really trying to figure out their own emotions and like being a single parent. So for me as a kid, I think it affected me because I didn't want to add more to their plate, even though it's like, you brought me into this world. So now it is your job to like make sure I'm good and taken care of, and like emotionally too. And like, I think what messes up a lot of us as we look back and reflect is like, well, I had a good childhood. Like I went and had birthday parties, and I went and I was taken to school and like all of this stuff. But it's also about, were you emotionally taken care of? Like if you hurt your ankle or something, did your parents take a second and be like, well, let's look at it. Let's go to the doctor. Do you feel like we need to go to the doctor? It's a connected agreement of like what we should do to take care of you best. And I feel like sometimes I feel like I was very like brushed off in a sense. And that's kind of crazy to realize. Like, I was really thinking about this recently and being like, I feel like no kid should feel like you're stressing your parents out.
Sure.
And that's, everybody's doing their best with what they have or what they can at the time. But I just kind of look back and I think it just affected my relationships with them, of being like, I'm just going to be the least of a bother I can. I don't want to like add any more to you. But also in my adulthood, of course, that carries on to where now in my adult relationships, I already assume that they don't want to take care of me. And so that's like part of like healing the avoidance, is realizing, oh, it's not that nobody's going to take care of your needs. It's that from a young age, you stopped expressing your needs.
Yeah. I can relate to this on a couple different levels. I have this story that I tell that's like, I tell it jokingly, but I think it's kind of telling of like kind of the dynamics. I was the oldest of three and my parents so we're all 3 years apart. So I think just like in birth order, I was starting to form anxious attachment because I was like, like I had all the attention and now I don't have it, And when I was like 6, I was riding my bike and I started swatting at a bee. And I fell off my bike and I hurt my hand. And for 2 days, I'm like screaming, like, there's something wrong with my hand, And my parents are like, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. Well, turns out I broke my hand, but nobody would take me to the doctor. And I'm like,
literally.
But that is like a very telling story of just what you're saying.
Yeah, 100%. It's like, I'm trying to think, like, I just remember like if I was, and I'll just make this known because I feel like it's just best to be authentic and honest. Like, to my parents, if you're watching this, we've already talked about everything we need to talk about. Whatever I'm saying now is me as an adult being a whole person and being able to reflect and say my version of things. So I just remember like in this conversation that like in response to what you're saying, like there was times when I didn't feel good, or I felt like I had a fever, or like something was wrong before school, or I would just be sad. And I feel like it was always like, just go, just figure it out. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. And that literally is teaching a kid to not express their needs, and that teaching a kid that like your needs aren't really the priority right now. Just go and figure it out on your own. I mean, I don't have kids, but I have dogs, and I can't imagine telling them that. If my like sweet baby pit bull was like, Mom, my leg hurts. I wouldn't just be like, walk it off. I'd be like, let's look at it, honey. Are you okay? Like,
I know.
so confused sometimes. Like, I get it's not a kid, it's a dog, but I'm just like, wait, I would never do that.
Yeah.
If my kids were going to school and like my sweet baby Ollie was like, I don't feel good, Mom. I really don't think I should go today. It's like, you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, make sure she knows that, like, she's going to be taken care of. Mm-hmm. It's just crazy.
Well, it's also got to be interesting because I feel like I reason with it by saying, oh, well, I had 2 other siblings and they also had to take care of my siblings, you know, and I just had to be the one that was okay.
Yeah.
But being an only child, I feel like that's really hard to grapple with too.
Yeah, I actually was just like reflecting on this yesterday because I had a family reunion last week. And, you know, going back to the Midwest brings up a lot of like nostalgia and memories and all of that. And it's pretty crazy just to think like, you know, I know everybody's doing the best that they can at the time. And parents are really trying their best. It's just crazy to me that I'm like, you only had me. I'm like, man, I was crying. And like, I feel like that was just... I don't know. Sometimes I look back and I'm like, I feel like I learned that I wasn't a priority. And I learned that the more independent I was, and this goes into avoidance, like the more independent you are, the more we get along. The more independent you are, the more we're happy and we're connected. And I got into my head, the more I'm just good on my own and don't need anyone or anything, the more like things are good in the house.
Yeah.
And so that came into my romantic relationships because before I had gone to therapy or dug into this or healed from any of this, I just had that mindset of like, I don't need anyone or anything. I already figured out how to do this on my own.
Yeah. So what did that actually practically, let's get into like the dating. Yeah. What did that practically look like? You just weren't dating at all?
No, I was dating. I was dating a lot because I think deep down with every avoidant or anxious person, like deep down, all we want is to love and be loved. Mm-hmm. So some avoidant people will go the route of like, okay, I'm not going to date anyone. I don't need anyone. And then they'll just kind of have like this loneliness in them that's masked by like, I'm independent. Mm-hmm. But for me, I was like, I want to love so much, but I would like go there because I wanted to, but then in the relationship, I'd get overwhelmed because I would feel like, if anything, like I'm trying to even think of an example. Like I think that like the avoidant go-to can a lot of times be like, whatever, like this isn't the right relationship for me. Mm-hmm. Like there's no problem solving, right? It's like, oh, you have this problem. I don't need anything from you. I'm not causing these problems. Like, and if I'm working on all these things by myself and you expect me to fix all your problems, like that's kind of the route. And I feel like the escape for avoidant personalities and relationships is like, it's the grass is greener mindset. It's like, well, there's somebody out there who's not going to need this much reassurance. There's somebody out there who's not. And you know what it is? I think it's a deep resentment of I never got reassurance.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of avoidant people I feel are acting out of resentment towards their own childhoods. Like I never got comfort. Why do you get comfort? Why do I have to comfort? You know, and that's obviously something that you have to look at and heal from because a part of the avoidance thing is a lack of empathy and just humanness, like, because you didn't get that. I never feel like I got like, you don't feel good? What's wrong? Talk to me. What's going on? So we don't have that example as an adult. So if somebody comes to me and they're like, babe, I don't feel good, you know, in a relationship 5 years ago, if my girlfriend's like, I don't feel good or this upset me that you did this, I just go to the place of like walls up and you like, just act how your parents acted.
Right.
And be like, well, we talked about this. Or like, well, somebody out there is not going to get insecure about this. And there's no problem solving. It's like, but it's childhood.
Right.
There was no problem solving. It was just go, you'll be fine.
It's like a subconscious behavior that just...
Oh, it's fully subconscious. And I just can't, like when I look back, I can't believe how much there was no talking things out or like actually communicating, getting to the bottom of things. But also I think I was with very anxious partners too, who were projecting their anxieties onto me. And I don't know what to do with that.
Right.
You know, like in the avoidant space, it's like, whoa. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that is that's something.
Did you date guys first?
So in high school, I don't even know if you would call it dating. It's not like we went on dates, but like I dated guys. We like wrote notes to each other, and like I had this one boyfriend. He would take me to school. We would smoke weed on the way to school, like my little boyfriends. But there was always something not there. Like I was just checked out. I would literally be in my head and be like, please don't kiss me. Please don't hold my hand. Please don't make a move. I think I was just with them because I wanted to be them. I was like, Fair. You're cool. You get to sag your pants and wear baggy clothes. I like that. I want to be around you. But then I'd be like, but we're not going to kiss. We're just going to look at each other and I'm going to steal your clothes. You know?
But was there a part of you that maybe like thought that was just because you were avoidant, or did you always know it was because you were queer?
I had no idea why. I thought relationships were just like boring, and I was just dating guys, and I was like, this is what the hype's about? Like, this ain't shit. Can I cuss?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. I was like, this is what y'all like are hyperventilating over, these boys who like don't know anything and don't like, I just was bored. I think I was just like, yeah, it's like a friend to me in my head. But I wasn't thinking anything because I was in Indiana. It's not like I was looking around seeing examples of queer anything.
Right.
And so I didn't even think of like being gay would possibly be an option until Fifth Harmony. As soon as I saw Fifth Harmony, I was
haven't heard that one yet.
Fifth Harmony, bro. Oh my God. Camila Cabello, that was my gay awakening. I'll let it be known. Camila Cabello was my gay awakening. So I was just like, yeah, that. Whoa, okay. Girl crush. That wasn't a girl crush.
Wow.
Yeah. Guys just never did anything. Did you date guys?
Oh, yeah. I dated guys until I was 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I grew up in Texas.
How do you identify? Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm gay.
You're gay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Same. Pleasure. Gay. The gays unite.
Yeah.
Okay, so you dated guys for a minute.
Yeah.
Did you know?
I always knew, but it was just deep in there. And I think, you know, it's interesting when we talk about the attachment stuff, I'm so anxiously attached. And I feel like that came out with guys so much because I just like was desperate for the validation. And I was so just like kind of clouded in that and so unhealed that I didn't even have time to think about if I was gay or if I would be better off with women. I was just...
You were subconsciously like creating these patterns and like the stereotypical relationship that you would always see. And so you would be with these guys and then almost like live out these like anxiety things with men. And so you weren't even really thinking about the guy.
Nope.
You were just trying to like feel whole on your like in your own self. Okay. Yeah. So what was your awakening? I just realized that is kind of funny.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I had to move out of Texas.
Okay.
And then once I moved here, it was like, oh, this makes sense. But I will say that like the way I started figuring out the attachment stuff was because I found myself in the same pattern that I was in with guys.
Yeah.
I was in the same relationship with a woman. And I was like, wait, I thought this was going to fix everything. Like I thought everything was going to be normal and I wasn't going to feel this way.
Yeah.
And then I was in this relationship with a woman where I was in the same, it was a moment. I was sitting, we were like in the hills, looking out over this. We're basically having a breakup conversation. And we're in the hills. We're like looking over this beautiful view and we're in her car. And I'm begging her. I'm like, why are you doing this? Why are you leaving me? Like, we can make this work. And all of a sudden it hit me like, I've had this conversation so many other times. Yeah. This is a me thing. Yeah. I need to figure this out.
That's amazing though.
So kind of like being queer woke me up to figuring out what was wrong with myself.
Okay.
And then going down an entire rabbit hole of like attachment.
What did you type in? Do you remember? Like
I can't remember. Probably like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Why?
What the fuck is wrong with me? Search. Am I gay quiz? Okay.
I'm gay now. Why am I still fucked up?
Okay. So you basically like searched, why are all my relationships not working out?
Yeah.
And then it was probably like, love language, attachment style.
Yep. Went down the whole rabbit hole.
Okay, so I had a very similar moment to this with like realizing what attachment styles were because I was in a relationship and I noticed the same exact thing. This is a pattern. Every person I'm dating feels like I don't care about them, feels like I don't give them enough reassurance. I'm cold. It was always like, you're so cold and distant. You get shut down. I'm like, I don't feel like I'm doing that, but maybe there's something I'm not seeing. And seriously, like if you're in a relationship and every single relationship you're in, the person tells you the same thing, there's got to be some truth to that. Like you can't just keep like dying on this hill of like, they're wrong. So mine was, why am I always cold and defensive? I could never like meet somebody at their emotions. I was always like, I didn't do that. Why do you feel that way? I don't understand. I was like fighting with like when a person's just trying to communicate their emotions, and this goes right back to childhood. Person's trying to explain their emotions to you, and instead of actually listening to the emotion they're experiencing, you're listening to how you hurt someone and why you can't accept that.
Yeah.
And so my search was why do my partners always say I'm cold and defensive?
Interesting.
And it popped up to the daughter of an avoidant parent.
Oh, fuck.
I was like, avoidant parent? What is that? So I clicked on it. It was a YouTube video, and it was like, it was literally like, I gotta go back and find it and probably watch it every fucking day. But it was a YouTube video to your kid self being like, the person was like, to the little girl inside of you, I'm sorry you never got to express your emotions. And I was just like, bawling. And it was like, that wasn't even anywhere near what I was going for the search. I just thought I was like, needed to figure out why I'm defensive. And it was like some quick fix. No. Nope. Turns out I had to go back to being 6 again.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But the video was so crazy to hear someone say all these things. I never even clicked in my head yet. Wait, I never even got to like really express my emotions and just cry and just be heard and be unconditionally like loved in the way of like, I'm sorry you feel that way, honey. Let's talk about this. And I didn't realize how much I was shut down,
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's hard for me to talk about it because I know, like, it's hard for me to talk about it because my parents and I have already talked about it. And so I don't ever want to, like, be, like, making them feel bad. But I also do have to get to a place, and I'm working through this in therapy, where I do have to, like, accept that was that is how I feel. That is what happened. And that is my experience and something I went through. And I don't need to, like, again, it's like the avoidance thing, caretaking. I'm like caring more about how my parents feel about how I feel than how I feel.
Right. I mean, that's
crazy.
Hard not to do, especially with things like this.
It is. It's hard.
And with the microphone and cameras, you're like
wow, I'm a broken girl. No, but yeah, it's crazy. Like, it's like the quote of like, when you choose to stay silent, who are you protecting? Are you protecting yourself or are you protecting someone else still?
Damn.
Yeah. Like when you choose not to open up about something, are you taking care of you or are you taking care of someone else? Like, I'm tired of spending my whole life taking care of other people. I want to take care of me. I want to be good on my own and be able to share my story without feeling like I'm going to like bring up something for someone else.
Yeah. Well, how did you get there? Like, so you do the Google search and then it's like, oh, fuck. Okay, well, now I got to deal with this.
Yeah.
But how do you actually deal with it?
Yeah. So I was obsessed with it. I saw it and I was like, oh my God, so many things are clicking. And I feel like I had so many instant answers of not, there's a lot of work that had to be done, but like so many things clicked. And I feel like I came back down to earth. And it was like the first time in so long that I had cried, reading these things. And I think, so I watched the YouTube video. I looked at the comments and they were all like, attachment styles, this is attachment styles, attachment, avoidant attachment. And so I searched attachment styles. I found the 3, 4, 5, I know there's different people say different things, but read those. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so avoidant. I'm literally every single box. It was like, you get cold when you talk about your emotions. You have the grass is greener syndrome, AKA if you're not happy in your relationship, you start daydreaming about other, relationships.
And you sing about this.
Yeah. My song Better Anyway is the avoidant anthem to anyone watching. Like my song Better Anyway is literally about, I like you, but it's probably better if we aren't in a relationship.
Wow.
Which is literally avoidant. I got to go somewhere else. Cause it's the anxious avoidant trap is anxious person. I know you're going to hurt me. Avoidant person. I know I'm going to hurt you.
Oof.
Anxious person being like, please don't hurt me. I can trust you, right? And then the avoidant person feels a lot of pressure. And, we're seen as these cold people. So we're like, I don't want to hurt you. It's just better if I go away more.
Yeah.
And then the anxious person's like, I got to get closer. You're going away. Why are you going away? It's literally just like
the perfect storm.
And so I realized, okay, that's called the anxious avoidant trap. So that's what I really looked into. That was the pattern I was in. The anxious avoidant trap was all my relationships. And so I had to go back to my childhood, and I just did so much research. Like I had this whiteboard in my apartment, and it was like avoidant attachment style, 1, 2, 3, 4. It was all the things you do to reverse it and how to get secure.
Wow.
And it was like, stop hyperfixating on other people's feelings.
That's an interesting one, because that's also with the anxious, you have to do the same thing. You have to turn inward and focus on your own feelings
and filling yourself up. And same thing with avoidant, fill yourself up. And we're all adults. Like we have to stop taking care of people and start just like looking in the mirror. Are you good? Yes or no? If no, you can't point over there.
Yep.
And avoidant people, instead of being like, you're the reason I feel this way, we point out and we're like, I wouldn't feel this way over there.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because we're like, this is the stress. So I'm going to go over here where there's no stress. And that doesn't do anything. That's not a constructive communication or like problem solving. So healing it has been the most rewarding thing, but it's been definitely a lot of, like remembering and going back down memory lane, and not having all these walls up is, again, it's so nice, but it's scary at first. Because when you start healing the avoidance, then you go to anxious before you go to secure.
What does that look like?
So a huge thing that has helped me is learning how to re-mother yourself. Have you heard of this?
No.
Okay. This
I've heard
is
of
crazy.
Reparent, but not remother.
Remother,
Okay.
refather. It's like there's like a specific thing where, let's say, when you have an emotion that's very hard to deal with, and you might be freaking out or having an anxiety attack, and it might be like really affecting you. Like for me, I would need my partner to like heal that and like hear me out and validate me and all this stuff. But really, that's the kid in you needing your parent to heal you and hear you and love you. And so you have to re-mother yourself, aka tell yourself the things that you wish a parent would tell you.
Yep.
So it's okay. You're okay. You're going to get through this. And let's say like you're sick. Let's look at this. Let's take a second. All the things that you look back and you're like, I wish I just was told this. Starting to tell yourself that, I think, is the only way that you end up like getting even close to secure. Yeah. That's what I've found. Do you see yourself as still anxious attachment?
No, I feel like I'm secure now.
Okay.
But it took
Huge. Huge moves.
Yeah. It took me a lot though.
Yeah.
And I definitely still think that there's moments. Like I don't think it ever truly goes away. I think that you find better partners who are more suited to like helping you through those moments, or and I feel like Matilda and I are both very secure. And so then like you talk about the reparent thing, now it becomes like co-regulation where it's like, okay, I need this and I know I need this and I hate I need this, but like, here's what I need. And somebody who's more secure is able to kind of mirror that back to you. And so I think that's like one of the biggest benefits to healing these things is then you find partners who are also secure and healed. And then you can kind of do like even deeper work because you're like, okay, we're at least on this base level of like, I know you're not going anywhere and I know you're not going anywhere.
Exactly.
You know, I'm not going anywhere. So now we can kind of like get to the next level, you know?
That's huge. I find like the anxious avoidant trap, a lot of the times, like they get stuck in the, where are you going? I'm not going anywhere. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. It's like so upset. It's so clear now being out of it that like you cannot be in a relationship that's healthy and be obsessed over the ending of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why are we talking about the ending of it? Because now I'm in a secure relationship. We never talk about the potential ending, or what if you leave me, or please don't leave me, or any of that, you know? It's like, but I've had so many relationships where that was the main focus, was like, who's going to leave who and why am I, you know, it's like crazy.
Were you dating while you were working on this stuff?
I was.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I was. So I had like perfect runway to start practicing. But again,
I feel like that was bumpy.
That's one way to put it. Yeah. I feel like that was bumpy. It was very bumpy.
I was alone when I was doing this work. I felt like that was what needed. What I needed was just like, I need to figure out who I am without a partner.
Yeah.
And just like, I journaled a lot. I meditated. That's amazing. I was like,
that's probably the healthier way to do it.
So tell me what your journey was like. I'm curious.
It was very hard. I think once you establish the anxious avoidant connection, it's very hard to get out of that, especially if like two people are in different places with the healing of it or the realizing of it or stuff like that. So with my relationship at the time, when I started healing my avoidance, I don't feel that her anxieties at the time were getting better. And so I was kind of feeling like it was a one-way thing where I'm like, no, let's do this the healthy way. Or I'd be like doing that. But I was still so early in the healing that the triggers are so easily right there.
Yeah.
And so I did, the relationship ended not too long after that. But I did take some time to like really apply it to life. It's like, I find it so much easier when you're working on the attachment stuff to just start with strangers and friends. You know, like if you're not in a relationship, that's the perfect time to like, for me, it was like, even the smallest things that I would notice my avoidance, just becoming aware of it. Like if someone was like, let's meet at 3 instead of 2, but I couldn't, I would like go around, change all my plans because I didn't want to hurt the person's feelings or like be an inconvenience. And I started just saying no. Like that's a huge thing. Just being like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't meet at 3. Yep. Instead of changing your whole life's plan to match this other person's thing. And I've found it's crazy. Like most times people don't care. Yeah. They're like, okay, let's just do 3. Let's just do 2.
And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah. I'm like, I've been doing so much work. But then when you get in the habit and the pattern of changing what you're doing to make somebody else feel better, then you're setting them an expectation to love you more and like you more and accept you more. And then when you start saying no and just listening to your own boundaries and your own self, you realize that they didn't even notice you were doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they didn't even notice that you were changing all this around because they're just thinking about them too.
Yep.
So it's like just taking care of yourself and knowing that if someone else is upset about something you're doing, that's a conversation. But ultimately the only person you owe, you know, alignment to is your own self.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it's better for everybody because
it's better for everybody.
I'll tell you what happens on the counter side of like the anxious side is if I do know that you're avoidant and I know that you're not going to tell me things, now I'm so fucking hyper vigilant. Yeah. I'm constantly trying to figure out what's going on in your head and where are you people pleasing me and where are you? Yeah. So now I'm like,
and then the anxious person feels analyzed and then they feel pressured and they feel too much responsibility. And then they get frustrated with you for doing that. But you're just doing that because they're hiding things. Like
we're in a fucking mess.
Yeah. Like that's literally a trap. Like it doesn't work. There's no way that can work. Especially, you know, after like now being in a secure relationship and me too, I'm like, I cannot believe how much time I spent just blah, 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 blah around nothing.
Yeah.
And like a huge like component of all this too is really just compatibility. Like, do your wounds match my wounds? Because if they don't, we're gonna have a really fucking hard time.
What do you mean by that?
Like, if I'm dating somebody with, let's say there's two people. One person has abandonment issues and the other person has a mom that was overbearing. And this person's constantly like, are you going to abandon me? Are you going to abandon me? And this person is already dealing with this and isn't going to abandon them. And they already had a mom that was very like, are you going to leave me? Are you going to? Then it's like your triggers and my triggers are just causing friction.
Yeah.
And now our triggers are talking. Now we're not even talking. Our triggers are having a conversation for us.
Totally.
And it's so subconscious. It's like, it's not like we know that that's happening.
Right.
The triggers have to align too.
Yeah.
And the healing, I think, I don't know. What do you think?
Like you have to be in a similar place of healing as well, I think.
Yeah.
Or else you're speaking different languages.
Yeah.
Because if I'm like really far along and I understand that the triggers are talking and the argument that we're actually having is not what's really going on.
Yeah.
And you aren't there yet.
Yep.
You're actually fighting about, taking the trash out or something.
Yeah.
And I'm talking on a different level.
Exactly.
We're not having the same argument.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I felt when I started healing with this. I felt like I was trying to meet with these higher levels of thinking and like just like the different level of consciousness about the attachment styles and really what the cycle was. And I was still being like taken to a different place. And so it does take two people that are like, okay, let's think about what we're actually doing here.
Yeah.
Is this actually about the trash can, or are we talking about why your mom did this and my dad did this?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
How has working on your attachment style overall benefited your life and your relationships?
I think my relationships now are actually authentic and, present. It's not me needing something from you to soothe a hole in me or to soothe like a lack of something in me. Now I feel like I'm a whole person, and my friendships, my relationships, and meeting anybody, I'm never thinking, about what if I say the wrong thing or what if I do the wrong thing and what if this and what if this. It's like, I'm going to show up as my most authentic self. I've healed the things in me that I've needed to, and now I can show up and just be real. And if somebody likes me or somebody doesn't, then that's okay. You know? What about you?
I feel that totally. Because I think when you are still struggling with this stuff, it's almost like a little voice is just in the back of your head, constantly making you second guess and overthink and like you it is a lack of presence. You just can't be there and be happy and like experience the situation or the relationship for what it is.
Yeah.
You have a whole different narrative.
Yeah, because you're either way in the past or you're way in the future. And I feel like healing, because I feel like if you are still like very much in the avoidant or anxious cycles, that's really just means that you just have a really deep need for approval still from outside sources. And it also means you're probably not approving of your own self. So I think it's like really figuring out your emotions and accepting your emotions, and so that you can be a whole person on your own. You can show up to the world and be like, okay if somebody doesn't like you, and it's okay if you accidentally hurt someone's feelings. Being able to talk through things with people and get to the bottom of their emotions and how you feel too. It's just like, I feel clear. There's nothing weighing on me. Like there's nothing that I know of right in this moment that I need to work through. You know what I mean? Like my therapy's up to date. Like if it's something from my childhood or anything, like I've at least started the conversation. So I feel like when you're really stuck in the anxious and avoidant, it's because you still have like a whole list of tallies that you haven't touched. And there's still that stuff, like the body keeps score.
Yep.
You might not consciously be thinking of it, but your body and mind remembers it.
Yeah.
Like your brain and your body has adapted to all the things that you've been told in your life by your parents.
Yeah.
And so if you don't revisit that and maybe give your child self the room to feel those things that you never got to feel, and give your child self some empathy that you never got, then that's the only way you can really be present, I think.
What advice do you have for someone who may be avoidant and is wanting to open up?
buckle up, buddy. To anybody out there who's avoidant, I would say, don't worry so much about everyone else. Why don't you take a second to love yourself, take care of yourself, think about how you're feeling and your emotions. Sometimes those emotions were never heard or never listened to, and it's never too late to go back and revisit those and just give yourself a space to do that and let yourself feel vulnerable and let yourself go there, because it's not, you can't just keep masking forever. You can't just keep being closed off to the world forever. You're going to miss out on so much joy by being so closed off. And I think it's really scary, but there is such a beautiful thing about learning how to be vulnerable. And you're going to realize there are so many parts of you that are so beautiful to everyone around you that you are hiding. You're keeping it to yourself. And it doesn't have to be such a secret. You can be soft. You can be hard. You can be bold. You can be introverted, extroverted. You can be all the things. You don't have to just be this one thing to every single person. So I think it's like, really just stay soft. It's okay, and make sure you're around people that give you that safe space to do that. Don't be going and exploring vulnerability with some toxic motherfuckers.
That's great advice.
Yeah. I think just don't overthink so much. You don't have to take care of everyone. What would you say to anxious?
It's funny. I was going to say, I feel like the anxious advice starts at the same place. It's like, turn inward, focus on yourself, fall in love with who you are. Like, I remember, I think that's why spending time alone was so important to me, because it was like, who am I without anybody else's influence? What kind of music do I listen to? What do I like to do? And turns out I just liked to do mushrooms and go to the park and listen to SZA all day. And that was what I like to do. And I learned to love that about myself. And I was like, wait, that's kind of fucking dope. That, like,
did you not love that before?
I just don't think I was connected with myself enough to even know. But like, I love clouds. I learned, like, I love to watch clouds. That's like one of my favorite things to do. And like sunsets. And I just like, I started looking at myself like, damn, you're cool. Like the things that you like are unique and cool and special.
Like, damn, you're kind of chill.
Yeah, you're dope.
Mushrooms and SZA. Like, I'm kind of dope.
Yes. Okay. And I think like once you learn to fall in love with that, then know that like being vulnerable is special. It's not something that everybody can access as easily. So like, love your emotions, love that you're so open to love, and know that like you will find someone who loves that, and you're not too much.
Yeah. You're not too much.
You're not too much.
You're not too much. I think that anxious people need to remember that. You're not a burden. You're not too much. Your needs are not a bother. You're not adding extra, inconveniences. And avoidant people need to remember you are enough. You can show up and just be enough. And you don't have to fill every gap that somebody has. You can just see people as whole people and add to the equation, but you don't have to fix somebody. You don't have to change somebody. You don't have to be the thing and the reason why their life was changed. You can just show up and love somebody and go back to being who you are.
I love that.
Yeah.
Wow. If you're not healed yet, then...
If you're not healed yet, watch it again. No, but that's so true. Anxious people need to hear you're not too much, and avoidant people need to hear you're enough.
You're enough.
And it's really saying the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like the one of my favorite things is, it's like there are two types of people. There are people who are motivated by like, you don't deserve that. And there are people who are motivated by, you do deserve that. It's like, are you motivated by like, you are enough exactly how you are? Or are you motivated by, you aren't too much? It's like the same thing. It's very interesting. Because somebody could tell me like, you deserve all the success. And I'm like, whatever. But if somebody's like, you don't deserve to let yourself down, I'm like, I'm going to. I will not fail. Yeah. What about you? Are you deserve you deserve a healthy relationship or you don't deserve a bad relationship?
I think I'm like, you deserve. Which
See,
is
I think that's
interesting
the
too.
anxious one. I think anxious attachment people need to hear, you deserve this.
Yeah.
Like, you're okay. You deserve all of this all these amazing things. And avoidant people need to hear, you don't deserve to feel like this anymore.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wisdom.
I'm a wise owl. What can I say? I'm bringing wisdom to this couch.
Okay, last question I have for you.
Okay.
What are you working on in therapy?
Okay.
I'm ready.
actually really excited about this. I'm learning a lot about boundaries because my therapist recently said to me, nobody can break your boundaries. You can only break your own boundaries.
Wow, I like that.
Yeah. And in my relationship, I have seen and I'm still healing all this avoidance stuff, I'm much more secure now. But I think if I set a boundary, let's say I'm like, hey babe, can you please, remember to do your dish and the dishes? And she's like, of course, babe. And I'm like, okay, that was a boundary. And then she doesn't wash the dish. I'll be like, you broke my boundary. Like, in my head, I don't say you broke my boundary, but I'll be like, we talked about the dish, I'll go that route. And then my therapist is like, the only reason you set boundaries is for yourself to be happy. If you set boundaries, that is for you to set. It's not you setting boundaries for other people. It's you setting boundaries for your own life and your own happiness and alignment. So if I set these boundaries and somebody doesn't follow the boundary, then they don't get to walk the path that I built, and not, these are the cones of my boundaries. Oh, you knocked this one over and this one over. You're crossing over. No, the cones aren't going down. I have to only protect myself and love myself and stay aligned with myself to follow my own boundaries. And if somebody isn't following your boundary, that doesn't mean you have to go where they are. That means you have to stay where you are and let what's supposed to align.
Wow. That's powerful. Yeah. Okay. So can you tell me what that looks like in practice?
Like a funny thing with my girlfriend and I have a little bit of OCD, actually. And there are certain things that really bug me, like the toilet seat. I have a weird thing about the toilet seat. And I really like it when it's down. And I really don't like it when it's up. And I've told my girlfriend this so many times, but for some reason, it's just not clicking in her head. Mm-hmm. And that's not crazy, right? There are a million relationships where it's never gonna be every single thing you guys relate to. So, or you guys connect on and agree on. So, and I used to get so mad. She would leave it up and I'd be like, please. And she's like, my brain it's not digesting. And I used to get so upset. And I literally talked about it in therapy. And my therapist is like, has she shown you that this is something that she agrees with that needs to happen? And I'm like, no, but I'm not asking too much. It's a toilet seat. And my therapist is like, stop expecting her to show up and do something that you want if it's not something that is clicking for her. Mm-hmm. And don't get so upset with her that she's not doing this thing. Just stop looking at the toilet seat. You know what I mean? Because there's some things where it's like, okay, if you guys aren't agreeing on that, then that's a deeper conversation. But my therapist has helped me be like, it's not that deep. It's a toilet seat. You're getting stuck on the minuscule things. It's like nitpicking. And that's an avoidant thing too. Being hypercritical and noticing the little things. It's like, there's something in there.
We have a very similar problem with the toilet paper.
Really?
I'm really bad at refilling the toilet paper.
Oh, that would drive me insane.
But here's the thing. I'm also whatever, I'm putting myself out here. I'm also really bad at flushing the toilet sometimes.
Okay.
But it's because my brain, so I really I hear and see your girlfriend so much because I'm like, my brain is thinking about what I have to do when I get off the toilet. The next 6 things that we have that don't involve the toilet.
My girlfriend. Oh my God, that's literally her. I'll be like, or she's like, so like she's an actress, so she does a lot of home auditions, and it'll be like the makeup straightener setup, and then it's like she's already in audition land, so she then goes over here. I get home, I'm like, ah, and she's like, I'm sorry, babe, I went right into audition land. I'm like, the straightener's still on 500 degrees. It's burning a hole in the table.
You know, we all need to hang out.
Yeah,
I feel
we
like we
do.
all will be really great friends.
We do. Yeah, she needs a reminder that the toilet seats, it's not that deep. I'm trying to be better.
Yeah, it's not that deep, babe.
It's not that deep. I'm trying.
I love your therapist.
Literally, she helps me. I get a lot of like, I get stuck on things sometimes, and she's like, is it really that serious? I'm like, it is to me. It's a toilet seat. You gotta put it down. But my therapist is really good at being like, so what do you do that's bugging her?
Yeah.
What are you doing lately that's not hitting the spot? Like, I've been really busy. She's like, yeah, that probably isn't fun, huh? I'm like, fuck.
Okay, we play a game.
We're playing a game.
It's called You Haul or You Ghost. No in between. She's perfect in every way, but maybe just like this one quirk.
Okay. You haul or you ghost. Okay.
She posts a selfie of you two on the first date.
On her grid?
Oh, God. That's intense. On the grid is a for sure no, but even on the story, like.
That's fine.
You're okay with it?
It's kind of like, yeah, you're happy to be here.
It's a little bit anxious attached.
That's true. My avoidance kicks in. I'm like, she's gonna be heartbroken if I don't want a second date. No, it's fine.
It's fine. Okay, you haul.
Story's fine. Grid's actually better. I think that's like hilarious. I'd be like, fuck yeah, dude. Go for it.
She's into it. She's saying, you are mine.
But it depends, like, how manic I am at that time. If she were to post it on the grid and be like, love of my life, that's a bit much. If she posted on the grid and she's like, hey, hi, I'm like, cool.
Okay.
But if it's like hearts, that's a little too much.
Like hard launching the first date. Okay.
If it's like, so happy I met you, that's like crazy. But if it's like, hey, Lauren, I'm like, cool.
All right.
Yeah. Wait,
Okay.
so what is the game? Ghost or what?
You haul or you ghost?
Oh, okay. It's somewhere in between.
No.
Okay, U-Haul. U-Haul. That's a keeper.
Okay, what about if she has a really extremely small bladder, like cannot go 30 minutes without
So
peeing?
my girlfriend.
That's me too, to be honest.
We'll be driving. It's not ever a 5-minute warning. If she's like 5-minute warning, babe, I have to pee. That's a negative 5-second warning. Like she's got to go immediately. Mm-hmm. So U-Haul.
Because here's the thing. I'm going to explain the rationale behind
Okay.
that. Because I do the same thing. It's like, I'm not going to tell you I have to pee because we just peed.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting the max amount of time to tell you that I have to pee. But then when I tell you that I have to pee,
it's past the point of
it's
no
911.
return. Yeah.
I'm already peeing.
You already pee.
Yeah.
You already just pee.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but that's the thing is I'm not going to bother you 10 minutes later. I'm going to try to really push my threshold.
Attachment. You're not a bother. You just have to pee.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Look, we're healing.
You're
already.
healing. You can pee as many times as you want a day. That's okay.
Okay, what about if she makes you cover all your tattoos when you go see your family?
No, ghost.
That's fair. You have a lot of tattoos.
Yeah, no, wait. I wouldn't like that because that'd be like, okay, you gotta accept yourself for who you are, and I can't be involved in this because I'm like I'm so on the unapologetic side.
Yeah,
and I have judgmental family, so I'm like, if I'm not doing that for my family, I'm not doing that for your family.
Oh, that's
you know
a good point. Yeah,
and I'm not doing that for my family. So, ghost.
You ghost.
Ghost with explanation.
Yeah, fair.
Okay. Okay.
Ghost for the full novel text of why we're ghosting.
No, just a quick, hey, I've had a really good time, but that's too much.
I can't wear a turtleneck every time around.
Even that, it's like, I got more up here. No. Hands, no.
Yeah. Fair. Mm-mm. What about if she only has male friends?
No.
Yeah.
Something's throwing me off. I don't know why. Anyone who just has male friends, I don't care what's your sexuality, something's off.
Yeah.
Like if that's your choice, no, ghost with no explanation.
Like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you tell everyone what you're working on and where to find you?
Did I say my name's Lauren Sanderson? Okay.
This will be at the end.
Okay, cool. Okay. All right. What I got going on? Well, I just got off a Pride tour. Happy Pride Month, everybody. Pride Month never ends. I'm still on tour. I have a couple cities coming up. I'm going on tour this fall, which I haven't posted yet, but I maybe will like the next week after this comes out. And I have a new song coming out at the end of the month on July 26th. So
can't wait.
Yeah, it's called Play a Part, and it's literally about you don't have to play a part. And it's to, my younger inner child of just like, you don't have to play a part. You can be who you are now. It's okay to be who you are. To anybody, who's closeted, who just needs that reminder that like, it's okay, take your time and be who you are, when you can. And, a reminder to stay authentic. And I have a new EP coming out this fall. I'll be on tour this fall. La 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 la. I post a fuck ton on social media, so just go there. You'll see it all. And message me if you're listening to this. Lauren Sanderson. Message me and tell me something.
What's your attachment style?
Yeah. Send me your attachment style on Instagram. We'll see. We'll see who's the bigger listener of this podcast. Anxious versus avoidant.
Yeah. That's a good test.
That is a good test.
Drop it in the comments.
Yeah. Poll. What do you have going on?
This.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Listen to this podcast every day for the rest of your life.
Woo! Yes.
Yay.
Thank you guys for listening to another episode of Made It Out. Please don't forget to leave us a comment, rate, review, subscribe, share. You can find our guest at Lauren Sanderson, our show at Made It Out Podcast, me at Mal Glowinky. This show was produced and edited by Matilda Jordan and worked on solely by lesbians.
She sat on my face. So hot, but I couldn't breathe. Called an ambulance.